Yesterday, South Africa celebrated Women's Day, and although we are able to commemorate the women building the country, there is still plenty to be achieved. Economic emancipation and bridging the gender pay gap has been a hot topic, and joining me to discuss that and more is Zama Khanyile, President of the African Women Chartered Accountants Forum. Thank you, Zama.
Thank you, Godfrey.
When you sit with me here today, on a Friday, the day after Women's Day, would you say the woman who's here today is better off than the woman who would have emerged in 1994 as the dawn of democracy came in?
I think certainly there have been a lot of positive strides made since 1994, but we're nowhere near where we need to be. So if I just look at the study that the Business Women's Association released last year on women in leadership, we found that if you look at executive management level, women are hovering at about 28% of the makeup of executive management level. So that's nowhere near the 51% of women that make up the South African demographic. So certainly there's been strides made, but there's a long way ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about the woman in the job market, and we're talking both black and white. Correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about the security and the ability of the woman to be able to work. Yesterday, we had those stats that were very frightening indeed, that President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke about as he talked about establishing the coming of a summit on women's issues. What do you think about such initiatives? Because it's part of the equation, isn't it? You fix security, you enable women to be able to go out and do what they need to do like everybody else.
No, certainly. I think there's a big link between women empowerment and women's ability to access or exercise their basic human rights.
Yeah.
So we certainly need a big endeavor, but it mustn't just be women, it must be men, because sometimes it's men that are on the other side that can unlock some of these societal ills that we're faced with.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to cut short this interview, because if you don't want me at the table to be reporting about what is wrong, you've got a problem. Let's talk about some of the issues within your sector. The financial services sector is one of the more difficult ones to crack for women. Impediments and things that you think perhaps could be done to try to accelerate the involvement of women.
I think it starts obviously with the recruitment stage. There must be active recruitment to make sure that you're building a pipeline where you can then tease out
to say, I want a woman, rather than simply to say, we are looking for
a candidate.
Right.
Exactly. So there must be an intent to hire a capable female candidate. And once that capable female candidate has been hired in the workplace, women usually receive mentorship. But I think what we need more is sponsorship, is people that are at senior levels to actively play a role in guiding us up the ladder and sponsoring our growth within the different corporates. That way you'll have higher retention rates, and it'll be easier to then build and groom your talent from within.
I'm not hearing you saying we need the government to do something, because always when we speak about these issues, we say government, government, government.
It's something that needs to happen in government, within the SOEs, the government departments, but it also needs to happen in private sector as well, even at SME level. If you've got your small business, think about hiring a woman in your business, because women bring a wealth of knowledge and capabilities, and you can benefit from having that diversity of thinking, even at SME level, the large corporates and in government.
Let's talk about something that's a little contentious. Pay. How bad is that?
It's bad.
How bad is bad?
The pay gap globally, looking at 27%.
In South Africa?
In South Africa, it's something like 50-something%. So it's even harder. In fact, someone made an example last week, the 1st of August, and said, this is the free time that women have worked. From the 1st of January to the 1st of August, women have been working for free, if you compare how much they earn versus what their male counterparts are earning.
Whose fault is it?
I think it's something that both women and men can do something about.
Yeah.
It's both something, because it's societal norms that have been there, but it needs kind of intentional actions to correct these things.
If you had the ear of the president, like those young women that went out on the total shutdown march and then said to the president, we need you to pronounce on X and X by X date, what would you say to him?
I would say we need to pronounce on, in companies, be it government or corporate, the number of promotions for women, the number of women given opportunities to training, and also disclose An average male worker at this level earns this amount with the same years of experience as a male worker, and those things must be public knowledge, because if they are not reported on, no one will actually know that this problem really exists.
The affirmative action debate, where do you stand? Because you have had counter-arguments that affirmative action marks you out as a person who has gotten where they are, because either they've got a certain color skin, or they look the way you look.
I think affirmative action has its place because it wouldn't need to be there if the natural will was there.
Okay.
So there must be now reporting and strong arming of business leaders and decision makers to force them to have more gender diverse, race diverse leaders and representation within their corporates.
If we take that route, how do we take out this thing that the people that we are pulling up, or the people that we are opening up opportunities to, are only getting there because of who they are? I mean, how do we make that distinction?
I think that's perhaps a perception. Because when
does it matter, though, the perception?
The perception does matter and needs to be addressed. But when a job advert goes out, it's still asking for the same requirements it would of someone else who are white, who are male. It just says the preference is that there is an EE candidate. But if you need to have a certain degree, you certainly will have that degree. If you need to have certain years of experience, you certainly will have those years of experience. What we need to do away with is the stigma that you only got there because.
Here's a conversation I have with the young women that I associate with, and some of the older women as well. And I say, power is never given. You have to fight for it. From your organization's perspective, what are you guys doing to take back that power that's been taken from women for so long?
We're empowering women. We're emboldening them to push through and take opportunities that they are given. But more so, we're saying, let them create a space, because we cannot pretend like every woman can knock on all the doors and they'll be open for them. Some of those doors will be opened by men, so we need men as allies. But once these women enter this space, they must always keep at the back of their minds and be cognizant of the fact that we need more women at the table. But they do that by displaying excellence where they are, so that when you then nominate for this next woman to come and sit next to you, people understand that they'll be getting the same quality, if not better, than what they've observed from you.
Within the accountancy profession itself, your guys' contribution to the greater good, to boosting economic growth, I am mentioning this tongue-in-cheek because we, of course, had the travails of KPMG and other auditors last year.
If you see the growth in the numbers or female representation since the African Women Chartered Accountants was started, you cannot deny that we have played a role in boosting those numbers. 2002 was sitting at 407 African, Indian and colored females. And if you look at the recent stats from SAICA, you're sitting in excess of 5,660 African, Indian and colored women. In a population of 44,000. We are not there yet, but these are the strides that I'm talking to, that progress has been made, but we can do more with an intentional, concerted effort from all stakeholders and business makers.
Who needs to do what? Again, I'm coming back to that central question.
It's about giving black women and women in general an opportunity. And being bold in doing so. People will say, we cannot find these women. We're saying, as the AWCA, we've got the membership. Come and talk to us. We've got this database where you can find someone across a number of sectors who's capable of leading and playing.
Do you still find active, how do I put it, refusal or resistance to getting women into the sector?
There is.
Because I don't know, the other day, sorry to interrupt you, but the other day I read a story on The Guardian where it was in Japan, and there's a school, I think, that actively failed women in order to ensure that they couldn't get into a particular sector.
I think people always have the excuse, but that's why you've got organizations like the African Women Chartered Accountants, the Association of Black Accountants South Africa, to dispel those myths, because we do engage with certain stakeholders and we do probe them and ask about where are women in their leadership ranks. It's
sad, isn't it, that we have to do some policing, because you'd expect, it makes economic sense to involve half of your citizens in economic activity, but we have to leave it there. Thanks for coming through, Zama.
Thank you.
That's Zama Khanyile, President of AWCA.